Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Fabio Wardley stops Joseph Parker in the 11th round of an absolute savage war. Where do you begin with this one? Parker coming in heavy. What was he, in the 260s? About 20 pounds bigger than Wardley. Didn't make a difference. Parker started very well, very sharply. Good boxing. 12-round fight, so 36 minutes. It's a long time to keep a high pace going. And looking back, that may be where Parker fell down, because there were too many lulls in the round where he wasn't active enough. Now, that's not to say he wasn't putting it on Wardley, because he most certainly was. But Wardley, what can you say about this guy's chin? I was talking to some of the fellas on a little WhatsApp group during the fight, and one of them made a comment that, what a street fighter Fabio Wardley would be, and someone else said, you'd want him near you, you want him next to you all day long. Absolutely correct. I mean, what a tough, unbelievably spiteful, resilient man who, you talk about no quit. This guy Wardley, Jesus Christ. Now, in the past, and most notably against Justice Hooney, Wardley had looked every inch the sort of late starter in boxing, the guy who does the basics, all the perfunctory stuff sort of well, but doesn't really quite have the schooling that's needed to compete at world level. Now, the difference between Justice Hooney and Joseph Parker is that Hooney, a much lighter man, was much, much busier and kept Wardley on the end of the jab and worked his combinations and found his rhythm and controlled the distance. And meanwhile, Wardley, going forward, desperately trying to do a caveman routine, got hold of Hooney with one punch in the 10th round, stopped him, as we know, but had his arse boxed off for the previous 9.5 rounds. Okay. This was where for me, Parker fell down, wasn't busy enough, wasn't consistent enough. In the second round, he had a great first round and certainly outboxed Wardley. But in the second round, he got tagged. And that was where the spite came out of Wardley. This inherent, innate savagery that he has inside him. He tore after Parker and had him against the ropes and was smashing him up. And God only knows. I mean, and Parker took it. It reminded me a little bit of maybe the second or third round when Parker fought Joe Joyce, took a terrible beating, but soaked it up and came back. And it was similar, very, very similar, because he found his rhythm again. He found his boxing. Clearly, he was the guy who is naturally a better boxer. But Wardley, despite the fact that he still makes mistakes, like when he throws a punch, he won't lean over the front foot. He kind of leans to the side, and if he misses, of course, he can get countered, and you'll know about that. So he makes these technical mistakes, but at the same time, he seems to be thinking in there. And that's a very difficult thing to do when you're in the middle of an absolute barn burner, a savage war, when the furnace is in your face, to keep thinking, to keep saying, okay, I need to do this. He was firing punches to the body. There were some good uppercuts. One uppercut, I think that was in the second round, that landed on Parker's chin, would have knocked most people out. And I said before this fight that I felt Joe Parker was, punch resistance-wise, was maybe on the wane a bit. I saw no evidence of it here, because during the whole fight, neither man was on the floor. But there were times when, as soon as Wardley smelt blood, if he clipped Parker, he'd be on him. And Parker was, covering up well, soaking up, was taking punches, but was coming back, throwing some nice punches back, threw some spiteful punches of his own. Again, an intelligent, thinking fighter. And you've got the feeling as the fight wore on that Wardley would have to hurt Parker, because Parker just had a bit too much of everything. A bit, maybe experience came into it as well, but he was certainly firing. Not enough of them, but when he did let his hands go, Parker, it was paying dividends. And Wardley was trying to just find that crack in the door. You know what I mean? well, both of them I think were cut, weren't they? I can't remember which round it was. It might have even been the same round, one of the middle rounds. To start with, though, as usual, I think in the first round, Wardley's nose started bleeding. He does have that sort of protrusion over I don't know what it is, a sort of bump on his nose or something. Maybe an old injury with lots of scar tissue. I don't know what it is exactly. But that will always threaten to open up. But he was bleeding from nose in the first round, no big deal. But then he was cut in one of the mid-rounds. So was Parker. And I think Parker was probably cut around. Actually, he may have had two cuts because I think there was a nick. But then in the 10th round, 9th or 10th round, he got a cut near the eye and it was bothering him. I think it was the 10th round because he was dabbing at it and I think it was on the inside of the eye. So the blood was going into the eye and that seemed to bug him. Now, of course, again, Wardley smells blood, goes straight for Parker. Parker, again, fantastic chin, made a mug out of me because I thought his punch resistance was going. No, he took it all well. And let's be honest here, as Darren Barker said, Wardley does have world-class power. He was landing flush. Parker was staying where he was. Parker goes back to the corner at the end of the 10th round. You think, okay, he's going to regroup. But Wardley jumps on him. There's just something that's not quite right about Parker. He seems stunned. He was actually shaken quite badly. I think it was the 9th or 10th round, and his legs stiffened and he sort of tottered back. But again, good powers of recovery. We know Parker is a hell of a tough guy himself. But in the 11th round, Wardley, with that killer instinct, jumped on him and just let both hands go. And I don't know where he found the energy from. It was relentless, left, right, uppercuts, body shots, gets Parker on the ropes, unloads, and Howard Foster steps in. Now, I'm not Howard Foster's biggest fan, but a few people have said it was a bit early. Not really, because Parker wasn't throwing anything back. He looked a little bit dazed, but you've got to throw back or you've got to grab and hold and, try and kill the clock. He didn't really do any of that. He was hanging on the ropes, trying to bob and weave, but he was getting clipped too much. And, there were occasions when Wardley himself was on the ropes and Parker was railing on him. There were occasions before in previous rounds. But Wardley was always throwing back or he would grab and hold. Parker didn't do that in the 11th. And as a result, I think that's why Foster stepped in. My God, this was a grueling fight. This was a really savage fight. And the way it ended, it did look to me like, really did look as if that cut eye was really perturbing Parker, as if he couldn't actually see fully, at least out of one of the eyes. But he just didn't do enough. He just hung on the ropes and tried to ride out the storm. And that's not a storm. That's a tornado. That's a hurricane coming straight at you. And Howard Foster stepped in. Parker was irate. He sort of half shoved Foster. Wardley fell on the floor in jubilation, as what he would expect. And an 11th round stoppage for Fabio Wardley. I had a cheeky tenner on this. I said in my preview I thought Wardley would win, probably score the upset. I just had a feeling about it. I won 50 quid. 45 quid, whatever it was. I've won some money anyway. But it was one of those fights where I thought, there's something in the air. And, okay, you can outbox Fabio Wardley. Maybe you can beat him on points. He's been 12 rounds once, and that was in a draw against Fraser Clark. You saw what he did to Clark in the rematch. Smashed him up in a round. You can outbox this guy, but you will never outfight him. You will never outfight him. He is such a hell of a fighter, Fabio Wardley, and I'm a massive fan. As for Joseph Parker, he deserved a shot at Alexander Usyk. We've said that for so long now. He didn't get it. Where does he go from here? He's 33. It's not ancient. He can regroup possibly. There's definitely work for him because he's anything but a shot fighter. But I tell you, it's such a shame. He deserved that shot at Usyk. Him and Caballero. Caballero's another one. They both deserve shots at Usyk. But full credit to Joseph Parker for taking on Wardley and not just, treading water and sitting on his hands, however you want to phrase it. But it backfired. it backfired badly. And unfortunately for Joseph, it's the old snakes and ladders thing. Down he goes. He's now got to start climbing again. He can do it physically. I mean, this would have taken something out of him. He left a piece. Him and also I think Wardley will have left a piece of themselves in that ring. But if Joseph wants to come again, he can. But does he really want to? Because it must be so soul destroying to come so close to an undisputed fight, and then you take a fight against an undefeated fighter and you get beaten. Who was winning at the time of the stoppage? Jesus, I don't know. It was, there weren't much in it. So either guy, I would have probably said Parker a little bit was winning, maybe a point or two. But my God, what a fight! What an incredible fight! And hats off to both men. They performed absolutely magnificently. So, what did you think? Leave your comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And I'm eager to read what you got to say. Do you think it was early stoppage? Who did you pick beforehand? Let me know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Good night for now.